The forest was quiet, only the sound of wind moving through tall alien trees. The human walked slowly, his boots sinking into the soft ground. He was alone on patrol, far from his base, when he heard something strange. It was a weak cry, almost like a child, but broken, filled with pain. He stopped, listening carefully. The sound came again, deeper in the shadows. His heart started to beat faster. He moved toward the sound, pushing branches aside. The air smelled sharp, like burned metal mixed with wet soil. Then he saw it. Lying near the roots of a twisted tree was a small creature, its body trembling. Its skin shimmered in patches, glowing faint blue and silver, but blood, dark and sticky, was dripping from its side. Its eyes opened halfway, filled with fear and exhaustion. The human froze. He had never seen anything like this before. At first, he thought it was just another wild animal from the alien world. But something about it was different. Its face looked intelligent, almost expressive, and around its neck was a thin band of metal, broken and half buried in its fur. He stepped closer, slowly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. The creature hissed weakly, trying to move, but it could not stand. The human knelt down, his voice soft. "Easy. I won't hurt you." He knew it could not understand his words, but tone mattered. He reached into his bag, pulling out a small medkit. The creature's glowing eyes watched him with suspicion, but it did not have the strength to resist when he carefully touched its wound. Blood coated his fingers as he pressed a patch over the cut. The creature let out a sharp cry, and its body shook. He whispered again, calm and steady. "It's all right. Just stay still." Slowly, the bleeding began to stop. He cleaned the wound as best he could, then wrapped a strip of cloth around it. When he pulled back, he noticed something unusual. A faint mark was glowing on the creature's side, just near the wound. At first, he thought it was some natural pattern, but the shape was too precise. It looked like a crest, a symbol, something that carried meaning. He frowned, staring at it, but the creature moved slightly, distracting him. Its breathing steadied. The fear in its eyes softened, replaced by something almost like relief. It pressed its head against his hand, weak but trusting. The human felt a strange warmth in his chest. He smiled faintly. "You're not so bad, are you?" He lifted the creature carefully into his arms. It was lighter than he expected, its body fragile. As he walked back toward his camp, the creature stayed close against him, shivering. Every so often, its skin changed color, flickering between silver, blue, and pale green, almost as if reflecting its emotions. The human found himself fascinated. He had seen animals that could camouflage, but never one that changed color with feelings. Back at camp, he laid it gently on a blanket. The creature looked around nervously, its ears twitching at the crackle of the fire, but when he placed a bowl of water in front of it, it leaned forward and drank. The sight made him relax. He had expected it to resist, maybe even attack, but it seemed to understand he wanted to help. Night fell, and stars stretched across the alien sky. The human sat beside the fire, watching the creature rest. It curled into the blanket, eyes half closed, chest rising and falling slowly. For a moment, everything was calm, but deep inside, the human felt a strange unease. He could not shake the image of that glowing crest on its skin. It looked too deliberate, too important. He had a bad feeling it was not just an ordinary wounded creature. Still, he told himself he had done the right thing. Leaving it to die would have been cruel. Suddenly, the creature stirred. Its eyes opened wide, glowing brighter than before. It lifted its head and let out a soft hum, almost like a song. The air around the camp shifted, a faint vibration moving through the ground. The human sat up straight, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. But then the hum stopped, and the creature lowered its head again, exhausted. The forest grew silent once more. Only the fire cracked, throwing sparks into the night. The human leaned back slowly, but his mind was racing. He whispered under his breath, "What are you?" The creature gave no answer. It only pressed closer to the blanket, its glowing eyes dimming as it drifted into sleep. The human stayed awake for a long time, staring at the stars, his thoughts heavy. Somewhere far away, he imagined, someone might be looking for this strange animal. He did not know that the small life he had just saved was no ordinary beast. It was the most precious companion of someone powerful, someone who would soon come searching. And when they did, nothing in his life would ever be the same again. The creature woke in the middle of the night, its glowing eyes watching the human silently. He was half asleep beside the fire, his rifle leaning against the log. The creature shifted weakly, trying to stand, but its legs trembled and it collapsed again onto the blanket. The sound stirred him awake. He sat up quickly, scanning the shadows with a soldier's instinct, before realizing it was only the injured being. He reached out and steadied it with careful hands. The creature did not resist this time. Instead, it leaned into his palm, its strange skin flickering from pale blue to soft green. He blinked, confused. Was it changing color because of him? He whispered, "You're safe, I promise." The words slipped out naturally, though he doubted it understood. Still, the creature's breathing slowed and it curled against the blanket again. When he tried to move away, it made a faint sound, almost like a plea. Against all reason, he stayed beside it, as if letting it rest near him. Morning came, and he offered it food. It sniffed the dried rations suspiciously, then licked them. Finally, it ate. Watching it chew clumsily, he couldn't help but chuckle. The sound seemed to calm the creature, and its skin warmed into a golden shade, almost like happiness. He froze again, realizing this was no normal animal. It was intelligent, far too responsive to emotion. Later, while he was fixing his gear, the creature rose shakily. For the first time, it managed to walk a few steps around the camp. Its ears flicked at every sound, and it sniffed curiously at his pack, his boots, even the fire. Then it stopped in front of him and simply stared, its glowing eyes unblinking. He stared back, an odd tension in the air. Without warning, it nudged his chest softly, like a sign of trust. He felt a strange bond forming, something he couldn't explain. That night, as he sharpened his knife under the dim stars, the creature lifted its head and let out another hum. This time the vibration was stronger, spreading into the trees. The hair on his arms stood on end. He put his blade down slowly, scanning the forest. Nothing moved, but he could feel it. The hum was not random. It was sending something, a call, maybe even a signal. He frowned and whispered, "Who are you calling?" The creature gave no answer, only resting its head back down, eyes glowing faintly with tiredness. He tried to convince himself it was nothing, but unease crawled up his spine. The following day he heard something distant, voices carried by the wind, sharp and commanding. He froze instantly, his instincts screaming danger. The creature too stiffened, its colors shifting rapidly between red and silver. It knew. It understood. He crouched beside it, pressing a hand gently on its side. "Quiet now. Stay quiet." The voices faded for the moment, but his mind refused to rest. Whoever those voices belonged to, they were searching. And deep inside, he realized the creature in his care was the reason. He didn't know its true importance yet, but he felt it. He was already caught in something much larger than himself. The creature pressed closer against him that night, trembling as if afraid of losing him. He put his arm around it, not fully understanding why, but knowing one thing for certain: he could not abandon it now. The third night was restless. The human kept hearing echoes in the distance. Metallic shouts carried through the forest air. They were not the sounds of animals. They were organized, sharp, filled with authority. He crouched low, scanning the trees, while the creature pressed itself close to his leg, its trembling skin glowing faint orange with fear. He whispered for silence, though his own heart pounded in his chest. When the sounds faded, he dared to move again. He packed quickly, deciding it was too dangerous to stay in one place. The creature limped beside him, its loyalty surprising him. Every few steps it stumbled, but when he tried to carry it, it resisted, letting out a soft growl as if demanding to walk on its own. That determination made him smile, even in the heavy tension. As dawn broke, he saw marks on the ground, deep boot prints, heavier than his own. He knelt, running his fingers along the soil. These were not hunters or farmers. These were soldiers. They were close, too close. He rose quickly and pushed forward, trying to put distance between himself and whoever was searching. The creature made a faint whining noise as they reached a small stream. Its reflection shimmered in the water, and he noticed the glowing crest on its side again. In daylight, it was even clearer, like an emblem carved into its very flesh. He stared at it with unease, whispering, "You're not just someone's pet, are you?" The creature lowered its head as if it understood, then pressed its wet nose against his hand. The touch was soft, full of trust. By midday, he heard them again, closer this time. The clash of armor, the distinct sound of alien weapons clicking. He ducked low, hiding behind the roots of a massive tree. The creature stayed still, its colors shifting rapidly between pale blue and silver, almost like camouflage. Through the thick leaves, he saw figures moving. Tall, armored beings, their eyes scanning the forest like hunters. One of them shouted, "Find the royal companion! The princess commands it!" The words froze him. Royal companion. His stomach turned cold. He glanced at the creature beside him, its glowing mark now pulsing like a heartbeat. Suddenly, everything made sense. The crest, the intelligent eyes, the strange behavior, it belonged to someone important, someone powerful. He exhaled slowly, trying not to make a sound. The soldiers moved past, unaware of his presence. Only when their footsteps faded did he dare to breathe again. The creature looked up at him, its eyes wide and shimmering, as if asking whether he would still protect it now that he knew the truth. He pressed his hand firmly on its back. "I don't care who you belong to. You're safe with me." His voice was steady, though deep inside he knew he was lying to himself. Nothing about this was safe anymore. The forest around him felt tighter, darker. Every rustle of leaves could be an enemy, every echo of sound a warning. He realized that by saving this fragile life, he had stepped into the middle of a storm he did not understand. Yet, when the creature rested its head against his leg again, he also realized he would not walk away. Even if it meant fighting soldiers, even if it meant facing a princess, he was bound to this choice now. The fire had burned low, shadows stretching long and sharp across the clearing. The human dozed lightly, every muscle tense, his weapon within reach. The creature lay curled beside him, its body warm against the cold night air. Suddenly, the silence cracked, the snap of a branch, heavy footsteps pressing into the soil. His eyes shot open. He didn't move, only listened. The forest around them was no longer safe. The creature stirred, its skin flashing an anxious red. He pressed his hand over its side, whispering for silence, but fear made it restless. A soft growl slipped out, followed by a trembling hum. The sound was small, but in the night air it carried like thunder. His stomach twisted. A voice rang out in the darkness. "This way!" Harsh, commanding, not human. More footsteps followed, armored, deliberate. The human grabbed his pack, scooped up the creature, and slipped into the shadows. But the forest betrayed him. Dry leaves crunched under his boots, and a beam of alien light cut through the trees. Figures emerged, tall and imposing, their weapons glowing faintly. They spread out, moving with predator discipline. The human ducked low behind a fallen log, holding the trembling creature close. Its colors flickered wildly, blue, silver, green, as if panic itself poured from its skin. The soldiers closed in. One raised a device that pulsed faintly, answering the hum the creature had made earlier. "It's here. The signal matches. Surround the area." The human's breath caught in his throat. He shifted, ready to fight if he had to, but he knew he was outnumbered. Slowly, the soldiers stepped into the clearing, and their eyes fell on him. But they didn't look at him for long. Their gazes snapped to the small being in his arms, and for a moment the silence was absolute. The lead soldier lowered his weapon, voice sharp but filled with something close to shock. "The royal companion. Alive." The others murmured, their armor rattling as they tightened their circle. The human's grip tightened around the creature. "You're not taking it," he growled, though he barely understood why he said it. The words spilled out of instinct, not reason. The creature lifted its head weakly. Its eyes glowed brighter than ever, locking onto the soldiers. A soft hum rose again, but this time it wasn't fearful. It was commanding. The soldiers faltered. For the first time, doubt flickered across their hardened faces. And then a new voice cut through the night. Strong and clear, feminine, yet filled with authority. From behind the line of soldiers, a figure stepped forward, tall and radiant in ceremonial armor. The human's breath caught. She did not need to introduce herself. By the way, every soldier dropped to one knee. He knew. This was the princess. Her gaze went past the soldiers, straight to him, straight to the creature in his arms. For a heartbeat, her expression cracked, relief flashing across her face. But then her eyes narrowed, sharp and unreadable. "You," she said coldly, "a human. You dare hold what belongs to me?" The forest fell silent again. The human tightened his arms around the trembling creature, his jaw set. He didn't know how this night would end, but he knew one thing. He had just been caught in something far greater than himself. The princess's eyes did not leave the creature, though her words were aimed at him. Her voice carried authority that shook the air itself. "Hand it over now." The soldiers straightened, weapons humming with restrained energy, waiting for her command. The human held the creature tighter, his mind racing. He had no plan, only instinct, and that instinct screamed not to let go. The creature whimpered softly, its body glowing with a strange pulse that seemed to answer the princess. For a fleeting second, he thought it wanted to go to her, but then it buried its face against his chest, shivering. The princess's expression faltered. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes flickering with surprise at the act of loyalty. One soldier stepped forward, growling, "Princess, this human contaminates the sacred bond. Let us take it back." The princess raised her hand sharply, silencing him. Her gaze was still fixed on the human, searching, weighing him. "Do you even understand what you're carrying?" she asked, her tone quieter now, but laced with disbelief. He didn't answer. His eyes flicked to the glowing crest on the creature's side, then back to her. He shook his head once. The princess inhaled slowly, as if steadying herself. "This is no mere animal. This is my guardian, my heart-bound companion. Without it, I cannot return to my people. And you, a human, have touched it, healed it, and it has accepted you." Her words carried both accusation and something unspoken, something fragile. The human shifted his stance, his voice low but firm. "I didn't know. I just saw a life that needed help." His honesty hung heavy in the air. The soldiers bristled, muttering among themselves. One sneered, "He insults you, princess. Humans know nothing of our bonds. Give the order and we will cut him down." Their weapons lifted, blue energy humming dangerously. The creature suddenly let out a sharp cry, but its skin flashing blinding silver. The sound froze the soldiers where they stood. The princess's eyes widened, and for the first time she looked at the human not with suspicion, but with something closer to curiosity. The bond was undeniable. She stepped closer, her armor catching the firelight. "It chose you," she whispered, almost to herself. "Even against me, it chose you." The human felt the weight of her words press down on him. He didn't know what this choice meant, only that everything had changed in that moment. The princess turned to her soldiers, her tone cold as steel. "Stand down." The aliens shifted uncomfortably, but none dared defy her. Weapons lowered, though eyes still burned with anger. She looked back at the human, her voice sharp once again. "You have interfered with royal blood. For that, you will not walk free." The forest wind howled between them, carrying the tension like a blade. The human knew then that saving the creature had bound him to a fate far larger than his own survival. The human stood still, the circle of soldiers watching him like wolves waiting for a signal. The princess walked closer, her eyes locked on his. Every step she took was measured, filled with the kind of power that came from command. The creature whimpered again, pressing itself harder against his chest, glowing faintly as if trying to shield itself. "You do not understand the danger you've created," the princess said, her voice low and steady. "By touching it, by letting it bond, you've stepped into something irreversible." Her words carried no mercy, yet her eyes, sharp and bright, betrayed a flicker of conflict. The human set his jaw, answering without fear. "Then maybe the danger isn't mine alone. If it trusts me, there's a reason." The soldiers hissed at his defiance. One stepped forward, his blade humming with light. "Princess, he mocks you. Let me end this." The princess raised her hand again, stopping him. Her gaze returned to the human. "You speak boldly for one with no place among us. Why would you protect what you cannot even understand?" He looked down at the trembling creature, its eyes glowing weakly up at him, then back at her. "Because no one else did." The words left his lips like stone, unshakable. A heavy silence fell. The soldiers glanced at each other, unsettled by his calm. The princess's face hardened, but her voice wavered almost imperceptibly. "Do you think your compassion makes you worthy? Our laws are not swayed by human mercy." Before he could answer, the creature suddenly moved, pulling away from his arms, just enough to stretch weakly toward her. It gave a low hum, soft but commanding, the same sound that had frozen the soldiers earlier. The princess's expression changed instantly. Her hand trembled as she reached toward it, but the creature hesitated, looking between them both as if torn. Her lips tightened. "Even my guardian hesitates. Do you see what you've done?" Her voice rose, filled with something close to anger, but beneath it was fear. Fear that her companion had bonded with another. The human held his ground, refusing to bow his head. The firelight painted his face in sharp lines, his resolve clear. He did not claim to understand the bond or the laws, but he knew one truth. He could not abandon the creature now. The princess studied him in silence, her soldiers restless behind her. Finally, she turned slightly, her cloak brushing the earth. If it trusts you, then you will answer for it before me. You will not die tonight, human, but you will not leave free either. The soldiers shifted, confused, but obeyed as she commanded them to stand back. The human exhaled slowly, relief and dread mixing inside him. The princess's final words struck like iron. From this moment, your fate is tied to mine, whether you wish it or not. The creature closed its eyes, leaning against him again, glowing soft and calm. The human realized the choice had already been made for both of them. The march back to the alien stronghold was heavy with silence. The soldiers surrounded him, their weapons always close, their eyes filled with resentment. The creature rested in his arms, weak but calm, its soft glow casting faint light on his chest. He walked with steady steps, though inside his mind was a storm. Every tree, every shadow of the forest looked like it was watching him, reminding him that his world had changed the moment he decided to help a wounded life. When the towering gates of the alien palace came into view, he felt the weight of what was ahead. The walls shimmered with energy, guarded by warriors in ceremonial armor. At the sight of the princess returning, the soldiers bowed deeply. Their eyes, however, flicked to him with open hostility. A human walking beside their princess was an insult they could not hide. Inside the palace, the air was colder, sharper. Strange lights glowed from the walls, and every corner carried the presence of authority. The princess walked ahead without looking back at him, her voice carrying through the grand hall. "Bring him to the court. He will stand before me." The soldiers shoved him forward, but the creature growled faintly, its skin flashing silver. The push stopped immediately. Even here, even in chains of power, the little being's presence held sway. Whispers spread among the aliens watching from the sides of the hall. At the center, the princess turned, her eyes blazing. She addressed the gathering nobles who had rushed to see the return of her companion. He saved it, he touched it, and it accepted him. Her words cut through the room, and the gasps of the nobles followed. One of them spat in anger. "Impossible, a human cannot be chosen." Another added, "It taints the royal bond. Cast him out before it corrupts more." The princess raised her hand, silencing them. Her gaze moved back to the human, steady and unblinking. "You all see the truth. My guardian does not lie. It has chosen him as much as it chose me." The human stood firm, though his heart pounded. He had no idea what fate was being decided in this hall, but he knew his life was no longer his own. The princess stepped closer, her voice low enough only he could hear. "I should despise you. I should take your head for daring to touch what is mine. But—" Her eyes flickered to the creature, now nestled safely between them. "But without you, it would have died, and for that you stand here under my protection." The hall erupted in voices, shock, anger, disbelief, yet none dared openly defy her. The human exhaled, the weight of survival pressing on his shoulders. He had saved a life without knowing its value, and now he stood in the center of an empire's gaze. The princess lifted her chin, her final words echoing like judgment. "From this day, he will walk beside me, not as prisoner, not as enemy, but as the one my guardian has chosen. Let the galaxy watch and be silent." The creature purred softly, glowing warm between them, sealing a bond neither culture could deny. And in that moment, the human understood his single act of mercy had changed the balance of two worlds forever.